Okay, it's time to rip some seams. So those of you who've been around for a while will know that I've been attempting to fit this dress. I am modifying the Ewe Sew You pattern for a formal gown for going on a cruise later in the year. So most of it's fine. I've worked out where I want my slit to be. I'm going to divide up the paper pattern for the front of the skirt to achieve that, because it is just inserting a sleeve a specific width in from the side seam. So I'll measure that and sort it out later. That way I don't need to worry about transferring grain line marks and that kind of thing. I can just use the pattern piece as is, plus a bit of seam allowance for where the slit is. The back of it is fitting fine, but we're not quite there yet. I want to change out the straps for another sleeve, probably a flutter sleeve. That's my thinking at the moment. So I've measured the length of the strap, I've measured the circumference of the arm side, and guesstimated how long I want the flutter to be. There's a couple of different things that I've got in my mind for how to do the sleeve. One is essentially a semicircle just going over the top of the shoulder, which would be where the strap length comes in. But a lot of places where I've been looking up how to draft flutter sleeves, they're showing it as a circle. So although in the original pattern the underarm is just finished, it's got facing on in the original pattern, but I'm going to be lining the bodice. It's not attached to anything other than that in the original pattern. For the directions I'm seeing everywhere for flutter sleeves, you would be doing a circle around the arm side. So I may or may not try both, we'll see. But also the front bodice isn't quite fitting correctly, specifically under the bust. So I'm going to remove the front bodice with my seam ripper and recut those pieces with some adjustments that I've mapped out last time I tried it on, and we'll see if we can get the bodice to fit properly. So I'm going to take this off first, draft some attempts at flutter sleeves, and then we'll get all that sewn up and put together. I don't think I'm going to get as far as even cutting out the final fabric this week, but if I can just get the bodice fitting properly and the sleeves drafted, that's the win. It's taken me a while. Okay, so let's get to seam ripping. Okay, so we've got something vaguely Minoan on the mannequin at the moment, as it's missing its front bodice, because that is here. So the next step is to cut along seam lines that we want to keep and cut along the marked in seam lines from when I last tried it on. So bringing the underbust down a bit further. Also going to cut along roughly where the pins that I have marked it in as well, so that I can bring the busts closer together. Then we'll use this to cut out some other toile fabric, and we'll go and draft the sleeves after that. So I'll take some paper downstairs and do that on the bigger table, and then I'll come back once everything's cut out, the new bodice front and the sleeve pieces, ready to sew it together and reattach it to the rest of the dress so that we can try it on, decide what we're doing with the sleeves, and hopefully the bodice will be fitting, or at least as close to fitting as I'm going to be able to get it. This has been going on a while now, this project, and I do need to get on to some other things that also have deadlines. So yeah, hopefully this will be the last bit of toiling, but we shall see. Okay, so I've got some stuff to try out. I say started. I have drafted a replacement for the straps, because what I'm thinking is I may need to anchor the sleeve over the top of the shoulder to get it to sit where I want it to sit. So I've got replacement straps to cut out, and then I've got two versions of the sleeves. This one, I've left a replacement strap attached to it, but I think it's going to be more practical to do that separate, although that does mean I'll have a seam line there, which is not ideal. So I'm going to be experimenting a little bit when I come to sew this up. So this is like a semi-circle that I've done. I'm going to cut it on the fold, and I've sort of S-curved it a little bit. I'm working with a 10-inch distance there. I can always adjust that when I've worked out which style of sleeve I like. So that's one version. My other version, again, I'm cutting it on the fold. You see this style of flutter sleeve on a lot of YouTubes and websites where people are drafting directly onto the fabric. So it's a full circle. You can fold things in four, draw the circle the length of the sleeve that you want. So I've done, as I say, 10 inches. And then you do a cutaway by dividing your arm side by pi, so 3.14, to give you the radius here. So that's my other option. So next time I get in the sewing room, I'm going to cut those out and have a bit of an experiment. Okay, so here are all my pieces cut out for the replacement front bodice to pop on there, and the two different versions of sleeves that I'm going to try out. I'm thinking with the sleeves to get a neat finish on the shoulder, that it's probably simplest to do the replacement strap in the same layers of fabric as I'm doing the bodice, because then I can enclose the flouncy bit of the sleeve in that seam, if I have an actual strap and then a sleeve portion, rather than trying to integrate the two together. So one of the trials, we'll see how it goes as it is, but that might get changed to insert that seam line in there, just for a neater finish. Because I'm not quite sure how to finish raw lace at this end otherwise. To be fair, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to finish the hemline of the lace at the moment either, but that's a problem for another day. So we're going to start by sewing up the front bodice. So we're going to do the order stated in the original pattern, even though I'm obviously not using the pattern pieces at this point. I've adapted them. I mean, they're recognisable, but they're not the same pattern pieces. So we're going to put the underbust portion together first. So what would be like the cradle if it was bra sewing, the bit that goes under your boobs. So I'm going to put that together first. Then put together the cup portions, join the two together, and attach it to the dress. And then we'll take the straps off at the back, marking where they're positioned to give me a guideline of where to put the sleeves. And hopefully, once that's all together, it'll fit, because then I can stop toiling and actually get on with the final fabric, because I've got quite a few other things to get done between now and the summer. So I'd really like to get this project finished in the next week and a half-ish. I need to order some more thread. Foolishly, I only ordered one reel, and I'm going to need more than one reel for a dress. Yeah. So that's the plan. Let's get on with it. Okay, so one of the challenges with sewing with fabric that looks the same on the front and the back, particularly when you've got things like bust cups and things that need to be mirrored, is making sure that you are putting things together the right way around. So before I do anything more with my bust cups, like pressing the seams or attaching them to the side panels, I'm just going to open them up and take a look at them and make sure that I have a right boob and a left boob. So for these cups, for the pattern pieces that I've used, I should have a long straight side to go down the side of the boob, and then a more sloped long piece and short piece, so long at the top, short at the bottom for the centre front, and they should be on opposite sides. There. Look at that. I've managed to do that. No inside out boobs this time. I'm going to have the same problem with the lining when I do the final fabric piece. I'm going to be flat lining or interlining, whichever term you prefer. That's my printer. I'm going to be flat lining or interlining the exterior of the bodice with the metallic organza and the lace. So that's going to be fairly clear which side is out, but the lining is just solid emerald green. No, well, it's not emerald green, it's bottle green. So yeah, so I'll need to take care over that when I come to set up the final one. The trick is to take your time and refer to your pattern pieces as you do it. So I'm going to press the seams of these cups and get these side panels on, and then close the centre seam, and then I'll get attached to the cradle. So we're nearly ready to put the bodice front back into the scantily clad version on the mannequin. Now my tailor's ham is not perfectly boob shaped, or at least not perfectly my boob shaped, but it does help when pressing curved seams. So I do recommend getting a tailor's ham of some description. Mine is just a mass manufactured one. I have one for sleeve seams, and I have a more typical one for like shoulder sleeves, shoulder seams and boob seams and all sorts of other curves. So I mean, they are useful, and I'm still learning how to press with them. So I mean, my seams aren't like perfect, but they're definitely better than when you're trying to press it on a flat surface. Because you can shape it around the curves of the hand. So I'm trying to press these seams open, so I'm just going to make sure the seam allowance is lying roughly where I want it to. And give it a press. And I will take my time over this when I'm doing the final one as well. I'm just going to do a sort of quick press with the toile. One thing that I do like to do before I press seams open, quilter's trick, set the seam before you open it by pressing the seam. Just helps the stitches sort of settle in place. Yeah. Okay, so I'll come back to you when I've got a full bodice front. Okay, so the new front bodice is in one piece. Hopefully this is going to work out. So we'll get that on, and we'll get the sleeves on, and see where we're at that point. I haven't trimmed back the seams like I would in the final fabric, but I have pressed things open or to one side, just because it's easier to sew and you get a better sense of the fit. But obviously with the final piece I will be trimming back seams to deal with bulk and all that kind of thing. Okay, so I'm going to grab the dress off the mannequin and get this attached, get the sleeves attached, and then we'll try it on. Okay, so I've had a little bit of a challenge pinning the bodice front onto the front of the skirt. Now I know the skirt fits, and I've used the previous bodice pieces to make the bodice top. So I don't think there's an issue with the fit, like width-wise, on the bodice front. But if you remember, the skirt is cut on the bias, so I think what's happened, given that it's not a huge amount of change, I've got a little bit of a a pleat happening at the side seams for both sides. So I mean, I don't even think it's an inch, maybe half an inch of excess fabric there. So I think what has happened is, as I've been unpicking and as it's been hanging on the mannequin, I think that edge of the fabric has just stretched a little bit, because Bodice introduces stretch to the fabric and it's less stable. So it's been fun. So I'm just going to sew that seam on, and then we'll get to the sleeves and we'll see how they're going. Okay, I had hoped that I'd solved the problem, but I've dropped the underbust seam down a little bit too far, so that probably needs to come up an inch maybe. And I've still got excess fabric between the boobs. So I take in the centre front and the underbust part, I think. The question is, am I going to toile the bodice again? If I do, I'll be doing it without the skirt, because that's just stretching out the fabric. It's not going to help me any to see that. So I could take the skirt off and re-toile the bodice. But I had hoped to be moving on to the final fabric after this. So we'll have a think. I do want to do this version of the sleeve rather than this version, partly because there's no structure there, it's not staying up, and it was awkward to sew because I had the strap replacement attached to the sleeve bit. If I'd had them separate, that might have been better. I think I'm going to get a cleaner finish having the separate strap to then attach the sleeve onto. I like the length. This is the one that goes under the arm, so I might change it so that it comes more into here, but actually in the lace that should be fine. It's a Chantilly lace, so it's quite light. Hey, I can always take it off and redo it, because I'll be cutting fabric away rather than recutting the whole thing. Yeah, I think of the lace, that's going to be fine. And this is annoying me now, so I had really wanted the final dress done by now. So yeah. Don't really want to be adjusting the fit in the final fabric, so yeah. If I come closer, you can probably see the seam, and I've got excess fabric here where it's just not sitting in the right place. So if I tuck up under my girls, see I've got excess fabric there, and that's a much better placement. So yeah, we're not quite there. Closer on this boob to that boob. I have got a lot of pulling and wrinkling coming here, but that's actually from just been too much there. Whereas if I pin it in, hopefully that'll improve. Maybe not. Yeah, so I'll lift this bit and smooth it in. So we'll lift it to there, which is about there. Maybe. I think my strap I need to maybe shorten slightly, but there'll be more layers on that, so that might be fine. And that I can do in the final fabric, that's just a tweak. But this bit is more of an issue. Maybe there. I don't know. I really don't know. So yeah, I do think it's this centre bit that's my biggest issue from a support perspective. But, yeah, this seam is in the wrong place. So, next steps. Take the skirt off. Maybe sew up the centre front. So reduce that a bit. See how that works. And go from there. So I think I overcompensated. Essentially, I think that's what the problem is. But yeah, I mean, decisions we made. I've sorted out what sleeve I'm doing, so that's good. I'm not going to redo the sleeves. I think for this version of the bodice, I'm just going to take that seam in a bit more, see how that does, and then try it on again as it is. And if that gets rid of most of the issues, then I can probably do the final fitting with the lining of the bodice. So yeah, okay. Okay, we have definite progress. It's amazing how much difference a single seam can make. So what I've done, and there's a bit of excess fullness here, which I'll need to take out later, but what I've done is I've taken in this seam all the way down into the piece below, so I'll change the shape of the piece below. There is still a bit of pulling. I'm okay with that, because that'll help me because I don't think I'm going to get rid of it, quite frankly. So the fullness in the upper cup I'm going to take out of the seam that joins the lower cup. So I'll just shorten that slightly, and that'll remove that fullness. So that's fine, I'm okay with that. I am going to lift the underbust seam half an inch, 3/4 of an inch, something like that. But I'm going to do that in the lining of the final fabric. Once I've got all my layers, so my bottle green crepe, then the metallic organza, and then the chantilly lace on top, a lot of any remaining wrinkles will disappear. I don't think they're going to be too much of a problem. I think once I've got the bust pieces shaped a bit better, this pulling's going to disappear here because this is from the fullness under the bust and where the seam isn't sitting in the right place, so that's fine. Once I've got rid of this excess fabric here by adjusting this seam, that'll be fine. So yeah, so I think we are as close to there as we're going to get, quite frankly. So next steps, I need to salvage the zip from this version to use in the final version. I need to press the final fabrics, or at least the lining fabric. I'm a little bit unsure about pressing organza. I don't think the lace is going to need much in the way of pressing before I cut it out. So yeah, rescue the zip from this one. Use this version to create the pattern pieces for the final version. I will sew this strap with a slightly more generous seam allowance, just ever so slightly, like 1/8 of an inch. Not even on both sides, just on one side, so shorten that ever so slightly. And yeah, I think next time I'll be working on this project, it'll be in the final fabric. So thank you for spending time with me this week. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, which will hopefully be the final version of this dress in the fancy fabrics, rather than this accidental St. Paddy's Day toile. I mean, colour blocking, we're doing stuff. So yeah, so I look forward to seeing you then. If I don't manage to get the final dress all sewed up in time to get a video out for Saturday, there'll be something else. There will be something. I'm not going to skip a Saturday for you. So in the meantime, there's this one here that may be of interest to you, and I will see you next time. But until then, happy crafting and bye-bye for now.